Hey guys, welcome back, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make yummy, nutritious, filling granola. Now granola can be used as a breakfast food like cereal, it can be used as a snack if you make it into little bars, take it on the go, but overall it's filled with a lot of good nutrition, lots of nuts, lots of seeds, and overall it's a super crunchy, crispy, yummy recipe that I'm sure you're going to enjoy. All right, to start with, we're going to go over all the ingredients that we're going to be using for this granola. First of all, we have 1 cup of shelled pecans. Now, pecans are a really good nut to use if you're on keto because it's one of the ones that is the lowest in carbs. We have 1 cup of sliced almonds, and if you have whole almonds, that'll also work. Now, this is a 1/4 cup of chia seeds. If you have the white or the dark black variety, either one will work. This is 1/2 cup of sprouted pumpkin seeds. Now, once you sprout anything, it reduces the carb amount, the net carbs in the product. So in this case, if you use regular pumpkin seeds, that will also work, but just note that your carb count might be a little bit higher. These are the sprouted ones and they're raw. We have 1/2 cup of golden flaxseed powder, 1/4 cup of sesame seeds, 1/4 cup of flax seeds, 1 1/4 cup of desiccated shredded coconut, and this is the unsweetened variety, 1/2 cup of erythritol, and this is the granular version, 1/4 cup of butter. This is the Kerrygold organic butter. I'm using the salted version. It comes in salted or unsalted. You can use either one because we are going to be adding a pinch of sea salt or Himalayan salt in this recipe anyway. 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract and 1 tablespoon of ground cinnamon or cinnamon powder. So some of our ingredients taste a lot better, they work a lot better in this recipe if we quickly give them a little roast on the stove before we start. So first we have our sliced almonds in here, 1 cup of sliced almonds, and what we're going to do is just lightly toast them until they get a nice golden brown color. Now you want to stir this often so that it cooks evenly and one portion of these almonds don't get burnt and the other ones don't stay raw. Okay, so just a couple of minutes and I can already see a few of these almonds are turning a light brown color, and I don't want to toast them too much, so this is the perfect time to remove these from the pan. And in go our pecans. Same thing, we're going to keep roasting them until we see a light brown color. And since pecans are already brown, it's a little harder to see, but you'll see a little bit of browning on these things, and these are ready to come out. Next is our 1 1/4 cups of desiccated coconut. Now this you might want to turn the flame down to a low because it goes very fast because it's already dry, and you'll see quickly that it starts turning brown. Just needs a quick 30-second, 45-second toast. See that? And that's good to go. And our last item to toast are the sesame seeds. And the way you know that sesame seeds are ready is when they start popping out. And I see them and I hear them popping, so I'm going to switch off the stove and remove these from the pan. Okay, so our pecans and our almonds are nicely toasted that we just did on the stove. And if you notice, after toasting, I kept them separately. Now, the reason you do this is because we're going to be food processing a couple of these ingredients, and depending on what shape they come in to begin with, you have to food process it more or less. So if you're using whole almonds, for instance, you're going to have to put those in and let them go a little bit longer than you would for the sliced ones. And similarly, the pecans, these are 1/2 pecans, but if you're using already chopped pecans, it would work differently. But anyhow, first of all, we're going to put our pecans into our food processor. And now we're just going to pulse it, and the idea here is to break down the whole pieces, but we don't want to fine powder. If a little bit of it is fine, that's okay, but we still want to be able to see some chunks of pecans. So we're going to pulse this. All right, that was about 10 pulses, and let me show you what this looks like. Okay, there we go. You can still see nice chunky pecans, but it's definitely broken down than before. And once we have that ready, we can go ahead and add that to a mixing bowl. And back it goes in again. This time we're going to do the same thing for our almonds. Okay, that was another 10 pulses. And there we go. Still can see nice chunky almonds, but definitely smaller than before. Now if you're using whole almonds, you're going to have to go a lot longer than that. And into our mixing bowl. And that was all of our food processing. The rest of it we're just going to mix together. And so here are the rest of our ingredients. In our mixing bowl, we already have 1 cup of chopped pecans and 1 cup of chopped almonds, both which were toasted. Next we have our toasted 1 1/4 cups of desiccated shredded coconut, 1/4 cup of toasted sesame seeds, 1/4 cup of flax seeds, 1/2 cup of sprouted pumpkin seeds, and 1/2 cup of golden flaxseed powder. And here we have 1/2 cup of erythritol, our sweetener. And now we can just mix everything so it nicely incorporates. Okay, we're going to keep that aside. Now here's our 1/4 cup of butter. When we measure it, we want to measure it in its solid form, so it's a 1/4 cup. And then what we're going to do is remove it into a microwavable bowl, and we're going to go ahead and melt that down. And the butter took about 15 seconds in the microwave. Mine was already softened. If you take it right out of the fridge, it may take you about 30 seconds. To the butter, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of powdered cinnamon and 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract. Now the reason I'm doing this is because when you pour the powdered cinnamon in there, it may or may not get mixed, and sometimes the liquid portion won't hit the powdered cinnamon and it'll still be powdery. But if you put it inside this mixture, you're going to make sure that the cinnamon powder evenly coats the rest of the granola. Okay, and that looks perfect. Mixed really well. So before we do the rest of the process, I'm going to go ahead and turn the oven on to 300 degrees Fahrenheit so that it's ready whenever we are for the rest of the process. So I've got my butter, my vanilla extract, and the cinnamon powder mixture right here. Go ahead and pour this evenly over the rest of our ingredients. And we're going to take our spatula and just kind of mix it through. You want to make sure that each and every bit of that granola gets coated with the butter mixture. Now don't skimp on this step. Take your time and again make sure every bit is coated nicely. That's what's going to give it the nice buttery flavor, but it's also going to give it the nice little crisp crunch that we're going to need for this granola. Now here's one little step. I mentioned earlier that I was using salted butter, and anytime you have something sweet, if you add just a little pinch of salt, it just amazingly improves the flavor. The sweetness comes out a little more than normal. Can't explain it, but that's how it works. So I use salted butter, so it's already got a little bit of salt in there. So if you're using unsalted butter, just like a little pinch of Himalayan salt, and that will do it. And be sure you mix that through. Alrighty, and our final ingredient is going to be egg whites. I have 2 eggs over here. I'm going to separate the egg yolk from the egg white. And don't worry, you can keep those egg yolks and possibly use them for another recipe, so we're not going to waste those. And I've got a little whisk over here. You can do this by hand as well, but I find that using an electric one just makes it a lot easier and a lot faster. Now as you can see, the egg whites are beaten very nicely. They're nice and foamy, but not necessarily any stiff peaks forming. And finally, we pour the egg whites over our mixture. And again, we're going to mix it through so that all the ingredients are well coated with the egg whites. Now the egg whites play an important role in this recipe. The little bit of coating that you get over the whole granola mixture is what's going to give it the nice crispy and crunchy texture. You could possibly get away with an egg substitute like flaxseed powder and water mixed together to substitute an egg and use it in here, but you're going to miss out on that really crisp texture. And the mixture is still very crumbly, so it doesn't form a dough or anything like that. It's still kind of dry, and this is exactly how we want it. We just want to make sure those egg whites completely coat everything in there nicely. And finally, we're ready to bake this mixture. So I have my largest pan that I have. It's a well-worn, love it, heavy-duty pan. It says 18 by 13 inches. And I'm going to take a piece of parchment paper and kind of put it in there. And we're going to take our granola mixture and pour it in. And we're going to push the granola all the way to every corner, every side. And once you think that it's evenly distributed, we're going to pack it in. And the more even that you have it, the better it'll cook evenly in the oven. And if you want, you can also take an extra piece of parchment paper and use that so that it doesn't stick to your hands. When you run your hand across here, you can easily feel where it's kind of thick and where it's thin, and that way you can press accordingly. Now, I always make granola like a crumbly mixture because that's how I like to eat them, but if you like to make this into bars that you can kind of take along with you, then you can score however you want these bars to be, what shape you want them, and then once they come out of the oven, it'll be easier to break apart. Now, oven is ready, so I'm gonna go ahead and bake this. Once again, 300 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's gonna go in for 25 minutes. Once it stops baking, then we're gonna pull it out and let it cool completely. All right, so granola just came out of the oven. It baked for 25 minutes. Now, if you feel it, it's still gonna feel a little bit soft because it's super hot right now. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna let it cool down right in the pan, right where it is. Be careful, the pan is hot. And then once it's cooled down, we're gonna come back and take a look. So our granola is ready. It's been sitting here for about 20 minutes and it's kind of cool to the touch, so you know that it's ready to handle. Now, if you look at this, you can see how crisp it is. And we can just break it. And we can go ahead and break this down into small pieces like this. And you can keep these in as big or as little pieces as you like. Now let's try some of our bars, see how they worked out. So here we go. Not bad. If you want to keep them in like nice bars that you can take along with you, then that also worked. Now in the morning, if you're used to having cereal and you're kind of missing that on keto, you can actually take this in a bowl and eat it with some almond milk, unsweetened almond milk, or even coconut milk. It's got a baseline coconut flavor in there, so I would imagine coconut milk would probably taste really nice in here. And what I like to do, I usually do intermittent fasting in the morning, so I'm not a breakfast person, but like on weekends, I still want a nice cup of coffee. And if I break this up and keep it in a little bowl and just, you know, munch on it with my coffee, it tastes absolutely delicious. Now, it's not overpoweringly sweet, so it won't kind of clash with your coffee or anything else that you might be eating. Now, this is made out of a lot of heavy, lots of good fat nuts and seeds, so you don't need to eat a whole bunch to make you really satisfied and full. This particular recipe makes about 22 servings, and the way I do it is I put this in an airtight container, just a plastic container with a tight-fitting lid, and my portion size is 1/3 cup, which is a little bit slightly heaping 1/3 cup. And the macros are great. It's got very little carbs, it's got a high fat, it's got a good amount of protein. Now, I wish you could smell the kitchen right here. It smells so divine, that cinnamon, the vanilla, buttery, yum, yum, yum. Let me go ahead and try this now. It's crispy. It was so delicious. It's got a lot of earthy flavors with all those nuts in there. It's a hint of sweetness. You're gonna love this. I hope you enjoyed this recipe, and if you did, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, so anytime that we post a new video, new recipe, you'll be the first to know. And remember, it's easy to keto if you know how. Bye.